A while ago, we talked about naming characters and how writers tend to overthink that whole process. I stand by all that, but your characters are on the page a lot. And like we said last time, names can be used as great character development or world-building tools. Sometimes it's worth taking a little extra time to play with your names and find out what you can accomplish with them. Now, I can't tell you how to find that special name for your own story, but we can take a look and see what others have done to come up with their own creative names. Let's start with Star Wars. George Lucas said that he wanted his characters' names to sound unusual, but not spacey. To do this, he turned to languages that shared traits with English, mainly Dutch, that would sound similar but not quite the same as what his primary audience was used to. That's how we ended up with names like Anakin, Mace, and of course, Darth Vader. Compare that to Lord of the Rings, where Tolkien created his own languages and used those to name the people and places in Middle-earth. Translated from Sindarin, Galadriel's name means, roughly, glittering garland. If you've crafted your own language for your setting, you can use that to name some of your characters or locations and indulge in a bit of world building all at the same time. Names can also be a great way to show themes and conflict. Our titular character in Violet Evergarden essentially becomes a weapon of war, and is often referred to as such. She doesn't really have a name until the Major calls her Violet, telling her that she won't be a tool, that he sees her as a whole person, and wants her to see herself the same way. The series returns to this idea often, showing her war-torn past and struggling to figure out who she is when she's no longer fighting that war, when she's not a weapon anymore, when she's just herself. Then there's this dialogue from How High We Go Into the Dark, where a researcher talks about how they named an ancient corpse. Maxim wanted to name her after a Beatles song, like how Lucy was named after Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds when they found her in Ethiopia. Our girl would have been named Jude or Penny. I beat him at chess for the naming rights. That interaction tells us a ton of small details about both Maxim and the speaker, Yulia. The fact she's referring to the fossil specimen Lucy shows they're aware of recent archaeological finds, and gives us a point of comparison for this fictional corpse they found. The musical references give us a bit of information about what they enjoy outside of work, and the fact that they competed in a game of chess suggests they're both intelligent. Yulia more so, since she won. Names take on another kind of importance when they're used in song, but before we jump into that, do you know a name with a fun backstory? Maybe from your own story? Let us know in a comment. Anyway, Stephen Sondheim named his lead in Company Bobby because of all the variations that name has, which has a lot of rhyming options for it.
Bobby.
Bobby, baby.
Bobby, booby.
Bobby, Robert, darling.
Bobby, we've been trying to call
Bobby,
you.
baby.
Lin-Manuel Miranda did something similar with the Rosario family from In the Heights, giving them the name specifically because it rhymes with barrio. Miranda has obviously continued this practice of rhyme-based names, with a recent example being Encanto. He had a hand in naming Bruno, and 2 days later, he shared a demo of We Don't Talk About Bruno with the director and his team. And it goes a bit deeper than that. Their family name, Madrigal, also seems to be chosen for its rhymes with magical and fantastical, which are used to describe the family in the film's opening number. Given the family's magical powers, that one's pretty clear, but it might also be a reference to the musical genre of the same name. Madrigals were really popular during the Renaissance. They were written to be performed a cappella and polyphonal, for multiple people to be singing at once, with on average 4 or 5 singers. The music was based on poetry, and each vocalist's parts would blend together, creating a kind of harmonic flow that had a variety of textures from chordal to contrapuntal, in an effort to elevate the poetry into something more expressive. It's a perfect allegory for the story, the idea that the family, their voices, are best when they're in harmony. The finale of We Don't Talk About Bruno even features a polyphonic section where all of the prior vocalists come together to sing in unison, blending their lines together into something more expressive. It's basically a modern madrigal. So yeah, My follow-up to "you're thinking about names too hard" is you should also think about names harder. I've come to really enjoy the process of finding a name, because for as complicated as it can get, there's a ton of ways to approach that decision. At the end of the day, you've got to do what works best for your story. Whether that be creating a standard naming system, picking a name that just drips with meaning, one that rhymes well, or just calling them whatever comes to mind first. That's fine too. Thanks for watching.